What's up, guys? It's Lizzie Jane, and we are back with another episode of the podcast. I have special guest Sosas joining me today. I just launched a show with Insomniac Radio called the XX Transmission, where you get to hear my favorite parts of this podcast and a guest mix from Sosas. And this is going to be every Wednesday moving forward with my podcast guests. So if you want to hear the music they make, some unreleased IDs, some highlights from the podcast conversation, make sure you go over to Insomniac Radio, download that app, and find me on the Impact channel every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. This is something for like the OG EXO radio fans. If you guys were into that when I used to do guest mix with like up and coming bass acts, this is kind of like the evolution. And I'm so excited to do so much more of this. And we have some awesome artists coming up. But as for now, we're going to hop into this podcast with Sosas. She's absolutely incredible. She just did a date here in Denver with Mersiv and Mr. Carmack. She's had some official remixes for Down. Ahi just finished a tour supporting Ahi and did a headline run with Quaxon. If you like kind of G. Jones, hybrid, experimental, trap influenced, heavy hitting bass music, she is for you. So without further ado, let's welcome Sosas to the Lizzie Jane podcast and hop right in. We have the one, the only Tana, aka Sosas, joining me today on the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. I'm glad we could finally make it work. I know we had a potential podcast planning when you were here last time in Denver to play. You played the Gothic Theater, right?
Yeah, I played Gothic with Mersiv, Mr. Carmack, and Seth David for that was Mersiv's Red Rocks after party.
That's low key, like such a legendary lineup. I was so upset that I was not here for it. And I was like, because I had a show in Aspen and we were going to do it then. And then I was like, no, I can't make it work. But that I love that theater. Gothic theater is such a cool venue. And then obviously, I'm a huge Mr. Carmack stan. So that is.
I was like, thank you for booking me for this show. I'm here for Carmack. that was literally my vibe.
I think that's literally like it's really crazy when like you're an up and coming act and you've been fans of certain artists for such a long time and then all of a sudden you start to get like booked with them or you start to have a remix for them and it's that little like pinch me moment paired with imposter syndrome where you go, wow, I'm like really, really pumped for this opportunity in my career. But I also would throw down to one of their sets at any point in given time. And yeah, the Mr. Carmack moment is an absolute stan of a moment, sound design king. And you have been just like all over lately. I just saw Ahi after his set at EDC Las Vegas on Friday.
I literally just heard that. Literally just heard about that.
Yeah, and we chatted a bit and I chatted with his manager and then I mentioned I was having you on the podcast and he was super pumped and I know that you guys did some tour dates together and the remix came out on Jadu Dala, which I'm such a huge fucking fan of that label. So how did that remix come about? How did you guys kind of like meet and start doing musical stuff together?
Okay, my journey with Ahi starts online in a way. I think like most people, I found out about Ahi through like production videos. And I'm gonna give a huge shout out to Ahi because I think I'm pretty good at like mixing and mastering, and I even do it for other people. And I think a lot of what I learned was literally from Ahi. So like shout out Ahi. I think even if you go on his YouTube, these comments of me being like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for this knowledge. I have music on my dream labels now because of your videos." So that's how it started. And then I played Shambhala for the first time in 2023, and he was also playing there. And so I saw him and I was like, "Hey, I like your videos." And we had a little chat. And then the next year, I went to Shambhala just for funsies. And I saw him again. And once again, I was like, hey. And we had a little conversation. Then, um, so wait, no, 2022 is when I played trombone. 2023 was fun. Then 2024, I played again. And then he was there. And I was like, hey, how's it going again? And then we chatted. And then he did a show in Vancouver. We chatted some more, and I think at that point, I don't know, we had chatted, like had small conversations over the years to the fact to the sense that he felt like he kind of knew me. I'd send him some music, and then one day I just got an email being like, "Hey, you want to come on tour with Ahi?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then we played a show in Victoria, and then a few weeks later, I got a message like, "Hey, do you want to do a remix?" Like, so I don't know. It was just like small human interactions, really. Just natural, slow knowing, getting to know people energy, I guess.
Well, I think that's the best type of energy because I
Mm,
think we just like are in such a hustle bustle industry and a lot of people always kind of just when you get to a certain point, it's like you have to take a step back and it's a reevaluation of does this person want something from me or do they admire what I've done or do they genuinely want to be a friend or a professional like colleague? And it's just like if you like go back to being in grade school or having a certain group of friends, you're not gonna be friends with everybody. Like, not everybody's
yeah,
gonna like you, and you're not gonna like everybody else. So when I've always found the most meaningful relationships that have developed for me in dance music are people that I would genuinely kick it with and hang out with outside of music. And then like usually if they're a few levels above me, like that's when those like meaningful opportunities have been passed along and it's like you slowly, just out of like admiration and then getting to know him and then saying, well, we actually kind of sonically have the same palette and we kind of actually get along comes to a point where it's like, hey, at the end of the day, I feel like now more than ever, so many people who like release these like massive touring bills with support and X, Y, and Z and remixes, they're just like people they like hanging out with that also
yeah,
make sick music. And I think that that's like a great example of literally what you did with Ahi, where it's like you're not shoving something down somebody else's throat. It's just like, hey, I exist and you're really fucking cool and then it came full circle, and now you've done a lot of stateside touring with him because of it.
yeah, yeah. I think I've naturally always been a person like that by chance, but more and more I've started to see the value in it. I think it's really like, I think one thing that like people will randomly ask me for advice because they're like, "You're doing some cool stuff. Do you have any advice?" My advice is go to shows, try to meet people, and don't talk about music. That's like that's literally what I say. I'm like, whatever you do, just don't talk about music. Talk about anything else except for music, and just try to make a friend. Go with the I want to make a friend mentality. This could be a new friend, and like that's the best way to go about it. And like I think even like all my best friends are musicians and DJs, and I mean, right now I'm on tour with Quaxon, and
Mhm.
literally that tour exists literally just because we're friends. We're literally like, we're friends. We make similar music. Also, wouldn't it be cool is if we went to different cities together? That'd be fun. And so, yeah, that's literally all that's about. It's literally friendship, the tour.
Which I love because it's also like you guys are literally creating your own party. Like, obviously, you're not like the talent buyer for these clubs that are booking you to come to the clubs, but you guys have been so involved, like, in your community and in the scene and the markets that y'all are going to that people are like coming through the door to support. Like, it looks like all of your dates have been like fucking awesome. And it's like, it's not like there's this like huge backing or one of you guys are on this huge agency that it's like behind. It's literally just about the music and the fact that what you guys have created through consistency and just what you're all about are like selling tickets, which is literally so many conversations that I'm having with people right now because we're in like, you know, the day and age of social media and you have
100%.
you have all these people that are like the numbers matter so much more than the music. And then you have these talent buyers that are like, I hate that this is what it's become because I'm in it for the music. And
Yeah.
then you have a perfect example, which is you and Quaxon going on this tour, like slotting your own dates, playing legitimate venues with real companies, and having a party. And like that's what it's like about. And it's not, oh, we have to have this huge marketing plan and this huge this and this huge that. And you're playing the same venues as people who are doing all of those things and selling the same amount of tickets. So
Yeah.
it's a very interesting deal.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a go-getter. That's my energy. Like, I'm like, I feel like I guess my mom always taught me, you can do anything you want, you know? So like, I genuinely believe that. So I'm like, there's a way to make whatever I want happen. There's always a way. So I'm like, you just got to figure out how and, put yourself out there. And that's, I think, what we've done. And like I think this is definitely my favorite touring experience that I've ever had. Like it's just like so nice. Like every weekend I just get to see the bestie. We play a set, we explore a city. And also like I find sometimes touring can be a bit lonely because you're kind of on your like own sometimes. So it's kind of nice to, have a friend. Even if I want to explore a city, it's more fun to do it with someone than by yourself.
Well, how many people have you talked to before? And it's like, I've been to every city known to man, but I actually have never seen the city. I feel like so many like situations that a touring artist is put in, especially if their flight, the show ends at 3 and they're on their flight by 5 and they really didn't sleep, and then they get there and then they've got sound check at 8 the next night and they're just, they're just chilling. It's really easy to say, well, this is obviously my job comes first. It's my biggest priority, but then I'm not going to go and explore and take advantage of where my music has brought me. And then you can just get in that routine. And I feel like having a great tour manager that's a friend, or a great friend who's also on, tour with you. Or I've heard about like the bus tours, which is far and few between in EDM, but all of my friends that have ever gone on bus tours are like, this is a dream, because we wake up in the next city the next day, we go and explore the city, we're not dealing with an airport, and just to have somebody to push you, it just leads to the experience. Because I think when you're starting to like tour and get momentum behind your project, and then you don't want to say no to a ton of opportunities that are fitting for you, it's easy for your whole life to just become about being on the road. And then when you're not on the road, you're at home grinding, finishing music, doing interviews, doing content, doing whatever you need to do. But then I feel like for me, like writing and creating art is about me like transfusing experiences that I've had in my life. And if you're not experiencing new things, then you don't have a ton to write about. Or at least I've had issues in that facet of like, if I'm not doing other things in life that excite me, some that are music pertaining and then some that have nothing to do with music, like being outside or hiking or snowboarding or whatever, then I have a really hard time sitting down in the studio and being like, okay, so am I gonna write about the bad issue that I had at work or the pain that was delayed? And I don't know. It's just it's a really interesting deal, and it's very like heartwarming to hear that you and Quaxon are having such a good experience, because I like see it on his page, then I see it on your page, and I'm like, this is honestly so sick. And it's like you guys have like that momentum, and you have the like you've created the own opportunity for yourself, and then you're going and you're like making a continuing like a continuation of an impact in each market. Because like at the end of the day, it's like you go to the business side of it and it's like, what's your value in the market? How many times have you played there? How many tickets have you sold? And it doesn't matter how you've done it or where you've done it. It's just that, hey, I've done it. Like I've done my own tour here, and that's what you guys are fucking doing. And it's super cool. I would love to know about just how you like got into dance music. Like bring it all the way back
Oh,
for
we're
me.
taking
Yes.
it all the way back because
Yeah, I would love to know how like the So Sus project like came to be, or if you did anything before So Sus, like sonically.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, okay, I'll start with where it started from you, dance music. Now,
Okay.
I was born in Zimbabwe, and I spent my teenage years in South Africa,
Oh, wow.
and and like I think South Africa and Zimbabwe both have always had a really strong dance culture. So like even growing up, Like my parents used to play like Chicago house music. I was listening to like Frankie Knuckles and Rhythm is Rhythm like since I was born. Like that stuff was just playing. Like it was obviously with a mix of like hip hop, like Snoop Dogg, and well, and also like hair metal. And my parents used to listen to everything. But like I know, especially when I got to my teenage years, like in South Africa, like dance music, house music, especially like all different kinds, whether it's like deep or even that like more up piano stuff or gqom or any of that stuff, it's always been like top 40 music there. So like I was just like growing up, it was just like some of the most popular music around. And then I moved to North America, to Canada in 2010. And when I came at that time, it wasn't really a thing here, which was really weird. Like I remember I went to the club and I was just like, this just sounds like radio. Like where's the like club bangers? Like but it was funny because within a year so much happened. Like all of a sudden Cruella was popping up, Skrillex was popping up. I remember I saw Calvin Harris. All of a sudden it just became a thing. Like within my first year of being in Canada, all of a sudden it was just a thing. And like clubs changed dramatically like so fast. Like the types of music just changed all of a sudden. It was really cool to see. And I was like, hey, now it's club music playing in clubs, not like radio, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So so yeah, that was good to see. And then I have had some projects before So Sus. I used to make like deep house, deep and tech house, which kind of makes sense. I grew up in South Africa, so it kind of makes sense that like that's kind of where I would shoot for first. And then I shifted from that to more big room. And then
Oh,
and then I
okay.
went from big room to trap, right?
Uh-huh.
And then trap, I kind of went more future bassy.
Okay.
And then now I'm kind of in like my like weird wook bassy, still trap elements era, just bass music, sometimes more dubsteppy, sometimes more trappy. Just depends on song to song, yeah.
That's definitely what I would like if I would explain your sound now to anyone who's not familiar with you, it's exactly what you just said. It's like trap influences with either like experimental freeform bass, like sound design structure, or like a little bit heavier. But like even like across the span of like the remix you did for me for Where You Are, and then the remix you did for So Down, and then the remix you did for Ahi, it's all got this again very like old early 2010s like trap like bounce, but
Yeah.
it's like the sound design of like G Jones and like deeper, more experimental artists, but it slams. Like I was just listening to the remix that you had for So Down. And it's
Yeah.
like cool because it's like I think that one you said like more remixes need tempo changes or more records need tempo changes because tempo changes are so much fucking fun. But
Yeah.
I think that like all of your past of creating and producing definitely has shaped the way that you produce and approach things now, which I think is so healthy because it's so easy to like emulate and get in just like a structured formula of what a certain genre or subgenre of bass music or trap can sound like. And then you kind of just like sound like everyone else. Where I feel like when I listen to your stuff, I know that you can sonically bounce from like bucket to bucket, but there's little like characteristics like noise candy, like ear candy stuff
Mhm.
that I can tell it's yours. And when you get into like a creative process, what DAW do you use?
Oh yeah, so I'm an Ableton girly, Ableton all the way. I've used and can use other DAWs, but Ableton just I feel like it's the fastest way for me to get like a song done. Like
Mhm.
for a long time I actually was a Logic person, but
Okay.
and then I started using Ableton for remixes because the warping algorithm in Ableton was just better than Logic's.
Mhm.
And things wouldn't sound so weird when I changed the tempo. But then I was like, as I use it more, I was like, actually, it feels like it's just faster to do things, at least for me. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I think the layout, I came from Reason and Cubase, and that's what I started in. And then I've tried Logic. Like, I'm familiar with Logic. I'm familiar with Pro Tools. I think I tried FL once and I was just like, and then I moved on. And the layout as far as like your sequencing and like your mixing window versus your arrangement window, I just think it's chronologically, I agree with you. It is the easiest to move from one point to another and be able to like really zoom into the details, but also zoom out and look at the bigger picture. I've been on Ableton for now almost 6 years, 7 years ongoing, and I don't think I'll ever be able to go anywhere else because it's just the best. It's the
I think
best.
the only DAW I would consider changing to is Bitwig. That is the only one. Bitwig has some things that I
Okay.
kind of do like, but it's very Ableton-like.
Okay. I've never opened Bitwig. I've yeah, I know a lot of like kinda I don't know if odd kid out. There's some individuals that kinda make the old flumy type
Mhm.
music, but, like, more modernized, and they all use Bitwig.
Yeah. I know
What's some
Chi I
features that
mean,
you're excited for there?
I know Chi uses Bitwig. I mean,
Mm.
one thing that annoys me with Ableton is I know for some reason sometimes one plugin is weird and the whole project
Crash.
will crash. But Bitwig, what it does is like everything's kind of in its own sandbox. So if a plugin goes down, your project is still up and then it reloads the plugin. It's like stuff like that. And like also like in Ableton you have Max for Live, which you can make you can make your own plugins and stuff, which is cool. And like I've experimented with that a little bit, but like I think the way Bitwig has it is a lot more intuitive and easier to use. There's just a bunch of stuff, and also you can actually open Ableton projects in Bitwig.
Oh,
Like,
whoa.
Bitwig's doing the work. I'm just kinda lazy to learn a new program, but it's like,
I
I have my
know.
eye on it, like, one day when I got, like, a bunch of time, I might consider just making a switch. But the other thing as well is, like, for collabs, that's, like, the big thing, it's, like, easier to just use the same thing.
You're gonna have to stem everything out
Yeah,
every
which is,
time.
like, I would prefer not to stem, like, I will if I have to, and I have collabs like that, but it's just if I really want to change something, I wanna be able to change it.
100%. I also do feel like I've been reading that Rick Rubin book. I can't remember the freaking name of it, but do you
But
know what I'm talking about? Do you know what
yeah, I
I'm
know
talking
the book. I
about?
I
Okay.
know the book. I forgot the
Okay.
name of the book, but I know.
I know it's literally sitting on my living room table and I was reading this morning and I have no idea what it's called. But he was just talking about like sometimes changing your atmosphere and I definitely relate that to like changing your DAW, like and
Mhm.
what it can bring out of you because like your process. But once you get in the DAW, it's always so crazy because when you're learning early on, you have so many light bulb moments like what automation is and MIDI and audio and sound design and X, Y, and Z. And then as you get kind of set in your ways, you stop thinking so big. You're like, well, I know how to do this because I go to point A to point B like I do every single time that I do something, or at least that's the way that my mind is. Once I've done it so many times the same way, it's hard for me to undo it and do it a different way. But if you step into a different DAW, I think that there's a world where you really have to rethink things and it could pose your like sound and your approach to like sound design or structure or layout or layering to be so different, which is very exciting, but you must have the time and you must have the patience, and both
Yeah.
of which I feel like is very difficult to say yes to when you have a million other things that you're juggling
Yeah,
at the same time.
exactly. Because I'm like, I always have a deadline constantly, almost always.
Mhm.
Like, I'm like, right now, it's like I have a song I gotta finish by June. I have like I've got like 12 collabs that I'm working on right now. So it's
Ooh.
just like, so it's always like there's a bunch of stuff always happening. So it's like, and even now it's like, I'm in the middle of tours, so I'm playing a bunch of shows, and it's like I already am like so much of my time is like, gone, and I have a partner who I have to, spend time with and make sure I nurture our relationship, because that's important. And
It's so
so
important.
so for me to be like, "Okay, I'm going to learn a new thing," which is probably not gonna yield many, like, results at first, like, it's like, maybe now's not the time, but maybe at a future point. But to speak to what you're saying about a different environment, one thing that I often do is I'll try find an interesting plugin or something and try use that in songs, and that can really help with me breaking out of like the train track, like of like this is what I do. I think like one thing recently I've been doing a lot of, or not a lot of, a little bit of, should I say, is so I'm assuming you're familiar with like modular synthesis,
Yes. Yes.
So I'm like, I don't have modular synth money. I do not have that kind of money because
My only Moog is literally sitting right here, and it was more than I ever want to spend on a piece of gear ever again.
yeah, but like with these modular things, it's just like one little thing and it's just a little filter and it's like $4,000 and stuff like that. It's crazy. So I found a program called VCV Rack, which basically is like it's like a plugin, but it looks like you have all the modules like you'd have in a modular synth, and you can make all your own modules and stuff like that. So I thought to myself, this would be a good way for me to understand and learn modular synthesis without actually getting gear. But also, if I do it a bunch, I can start figuring out the little modules that I actually want, so that I could buy like the real ones if I ever wanted to.
Ooh.
So basically, I'm like learning modular synthesis digitally for the process of one day understanding what I want and understanding how to do it. And this honestly has made me make different sounds, think in different ways. So like, yeah, I've made some songs using that and it's super fun. And it's like, there's definitely a huge fun element that it's kind of brought to music for me. Even if like I have pressure on deadlines and collabs and all these things, it's still like, hey, I feel like a kid, playing. I used to love Legos. I used to just like, I would never make anything on the box. I would just be like, I'm going to make whatever I want to make. That's always been my vibe. And so like this program, I don't know, for me, it's kind of brought that vibe out for me in music.
Well, I think that's so exciting. I'm definitely going to get that program for you, and we're going to put it in the comments of the discussion on YouTube, because I always like trying to put people on to like new shit that's going to inspire them. Because I think when you've been doing it for so long, it doesn't even matter if you've made like sonic genre changes, or every so once in a while you're like, I'm going to make a house tune, or I'm going to make a drum and bass tune, or whatever. It is so easy for it to, some of it, start feeling maybe like a job, because you have to show up in the DAW in order to keep things moving. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, because like, again, bringing social media back into the picture, branding or X, Y, and Z, the most important like brick of your project's building is always going to be like the music. So like whenever you can find a new way to make it feel like how you remember feeling when you first opened the DAW, when you first made your first record, like how exciting and like almost like innocent and kid-like it felt. There are VSTs and there are like sites and kind of programs like you just mentioned that I've been trying to seek out to like make it feel like I'm not just like, okay, you gotta get it across the finish line, because you want to have fun. Like at the end of the day, like we're in this because we love it. Like not no one, I don't think, is in music for financial gain, or you're really in the wrong fucking spot. You are so in the wrong spot. And so like to be able to be nerds and be like little audiophiles about it is so exciting. And that's like also what brought me to Ahi, is like I started by watching his YouTube videos as well. I think me and you and probably half of our industry really feels that way, because when you have somebody who brings like that type of educational content, it makes it so fun when you can figure out something new in the DAW. And when you're creating and everything, so you're working on a ton of collabs right now. So let's talk about collabs. What is your collab process like? Like when do you, how do you like reach out to someone when you were like, hey, I think we would fucking make something awesome together? And then how does that creative process go?
Yeah, I mean, with collabs, at this point, I don't really want to collab for the most part with anyone I don't know personally. Like, that's how I feel. Like, I have in the past, and like, I just feel like when there's like a friendship kind of there, it like works out so much better. So that's like my one thing. But also, like, it's like just people whose sound I like, or if they like my sound, and it's very often people you know, we'll be chatting for a while, and then one of us will say it. And it will always be like, I was just thinking that. Like, that's kind of the point. Like, I think that's like something like, I was talking to like Richie from Exotics for a while, and then now we have a collab, or even like me and Gardella, because like every time Gardella has come to Vancouver, we've hung out, we talk on Instagram a little bit, and it's like we kind of like had a little bit of a friendship going before that collab happened. And I think that's just kind of the way to go. Like
Absolutely.
I think it like comes back also to the conversation we were talking about before. I think I'm just very big on that personally. Like I like that friendship level. Like I just want to be like, hey, we're friends, and like whether we make a collab or not, we're friends. Whether this or that, we're friends. Like, if I'm in a city with one of my friends, they're like, I can't come to your show. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't care. We're friends. Like, that's what matters. What I care about is the friendship. If you can come, come. If you can't come, it's all right. And also at a show, it's like, I'm not really probably going to talk to you that much at a show either anyway. So, it's okay.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's so my vibe because I live in Denver and I literally have friends who are here every single weekend. And I don't know if the pandemic did it to me. I don't know if this is who I truly really always was inside. I am just not I wouldn't be out at 4 a.m. at the rhythm function type of girl. And I really love like being like, hey, let me pick you up from the airport. We'll go get breakfast and then you have a great time at your show. And any time that I can get where just like you were saying before, like we're not talking about music, we're talking about their significant other, we're talking about their pet or their family or, other shit going on. And if music happens to find its way in there, it's fine, but it's not the root of why we're spending time together. It's like just us being homies and like friends together. I find that is so important and it just takes you like so much further than where you're at to begin with in the long run, especially because now I see it more than ever being in this more towards my tenure than not, is that you'll kind of all start with this like almost like this college class where everybody's different ages, but you kind of start seeing people who are like across the country doing stuff or playing their first shows or releasing on labels. And then it's like 5 years later, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years later, and they're like playing EDC and they're doing these massive tours. And it's kind of like everybody, if you're in that community, really rises together and is like on their own journey and on their own timeline. But everyone I know that started when I started, that is still in it and didn't give up, are doing like really cool things in their own right. And then I think it provides that window of opportunity to say, hey, do you want to? I think I can help you here. And then that person goes, hey, I think I can help you here. And you guys continue to help each other rise. And I think that's why, even though you like see one person on stage, whether it's like your team or the other artists you're touring with, the community is so much bigger. Like it really is this team effort if you're able to look at it that way. Cause I always like used to think about certain things happening in my career and then just being like, if I did this all and I was just like alone or I had a manager that like wasn't even my friend, that would really suck. Like I want to be around people that I care about and like people who I consider friends, like to take along the way or like just be a part of something that I'm doing so that it feels like it has like meaning.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like I didn't really have a manager until like very recently, like
Okay.
very like mere months
Yeah.
ago.
That's
So I was
awesome
kind
though.
so I was kind of like doing everything by myself. But even with that said, I always had the resource of, I could, uh, be like Wreckno's like somebody else, be like, hey, blah blah blah, question about this. Hey, Zeke Beats, question about this. Hey, Quaxon even, question about this. Like, whether it's stuff from like, you've worked with these label, how was that? I'm doing a show. Is this weird? I've never seen this in the contract. Is this weird? Like just anything. And everyone is very like willing to help. And it's also made me also willing to help anyone who like hits me up. If I can answer, like somebody was asking me about like you released on this label, how is it? And like I'll just give my honest opinion and thoughts and what I think they should do and stuff like that. I think there is definitely a vibe of everyone just being very willing to help each other. But I think it also comes hand in hand with what we're talking about, just like kind of having, I guess, genuine intentions when you approach someone. Because
Mhm.
even like, I'm not the biggest artist ever, but even I am starting to feel the vibe sometimes, which is like, I remember one time I was talking to my friend who I hadn't seen in a really long time. This is one of my really good friends. And, she we're having actually a serious conversation. And this guy came up to me with his earbud. He came up to me. We were just standing like outside, like in a smoking area of a club. He came with his earbud, and he's like, "Can you listen to a track for me?" And I was like, I'm talking
Oh.
to my friend. I'm like, "Here's my email. Send it to me." Um, and then I was like, "But I'm not doing that right now. That's not a thing that's gonna happen."
That was
You
a
know?
really polite way to handle that. Yeah.
Well, I'm very firm, and like the one thing is like I will never ever listen to a song in a club. It's not happening. Do not
Mm.
care. Not doing it.
No.
I'm like, you can send me that song later, because I'm not going to pay attention. I'm not going to be all the way here, and I would rather
Yeah.
be talking to people in this environment.
I
You know.
think that's like, oh, that's such like a I've just been doing a lot of like panels and been around doing I was at EDC last weekend for a day and then came back and we did a panel with some really really interesting successful individuals that was moderated by Sherm who runs a collective out of Chicago and I feel like I've heard just so many ways how to correctly approach and correctly not approach an artist in the last few days where it's like we all were in your position at one point. Like, we all were like, how do I get my music in this artist's hands? And how do I maybe say, you rock and I admire you and I would love for you to check out my stuff sometime. But handing the AirBod in the club in the smoking section is not it. Now, what would have been super cool is, hey, I love your music. I fuck with your music. I make music like you. I'm trying to get better. Can I have your email to send you music at a later point in time? I hope you have an awesome tour.
Yeah.
Like something along those lines. Some
Perfect.
and you go, "Okay, you're fucking awesome and you're respectful and I'm definitely going to listen to your music." And it
Yeah.
leaves that like really awesome first impression cuz yeah, it's I've you are like artist number 10 that I've heard in the last week just go, please don't ask me to listen to something in the green room or like at a club that you've made because I can't hear properly. Like I can't even begin to listen to it properly. And it's so incredibly true. And like being on the road, which you're currently, are you in the middle of the tour right now? Or are you on the back
Yeah.
end? Or are you on the front end?
Yeah. We're in the back end now. So I've got 4 more dates with Quaxon.
Okay.
But I also have some individual shows. Like I'm playing a festival at the end of May, and then I'm doing like another festival in Calgary, and other things that I can't think of right now. But yeah, so we're in the last few dates, but it's gonna be like, what are you doing? Um, Charlotte, Nashville, Pensacola, Dallas. Those are our last 4, so
Oh
should be
yeah.
fun. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited. I'm excited especially for Charlotte, Charlotte and Nashville because I love food, and I'm like barbecue,
Nashville.
barbecue.
Nashville's
Oh
the best. I love Nashville. And what makes me so exciting is that Nashville definitely has this dance scene that's growing. Like I've watched it from afar the last few years. So I feel like you're going to have a kick ass time in Nashville. It's hard because there's not a ton of dance shows there, but there's starting to be more of them. And yeah, Charlotte and then Nashville. So you're heading to the South Side pretty much. You're doing
yeah,
Texas. Like
yeah, and I'm
Texas will
just
also have good food. Dallas.
yeah. So I'm in for some good food, and I'm very excited. Like I've been to North Carolina before, and honestly, so far, best barbecue I've ever had in my life was in North Carolina.
Really?
So yeah, it went. I was just like, I played a show no, it wasn't Charlotte. I played a show in Winston-Salem.
Oh, okay. Out there. Out
I had
there.
never heard of it. I just got booked and I said, sure, why not? What have I got to lose? And I had the best food I've ever had, the best barbecue food I've ever had. in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So shout out Winston-Salem.
Hey, I'll keep that in mind because I'll be in Charlotte in July, and I would love to try barbecue. I feel like, yeah, the barbecue, because Dallas also may give you a run from your money, but I also feel like the little mom and pop places that aren't super like commercialized, like Texas is definitely known for barbecue, will have the best barbecue. And then when you're in Nashville, you have to go to the strip and check out all the live music and all of that
Yes.
stuff. That'll be
Yes.
so much fun.
Yeah.
And it sounds like
The person did Cospo was like, "Do you want to go to Broadway?" And okay, I don't know everything about every place. So I was like, "What is Broadway in the context of Nashville?" And he's like, "It's where all the honky tonk music is." And I was like, "Oh, I was like, I need to hear Save a Horse, please. Like,
yes,
get me
yes.
get me on a boat. Let's get like Save a Horse going. Like, that sounds like a good time."
You'll definitely be able to make it happen. I honestly think if somebody asked me that, I'd probably be like a musical or like that Broadway, like there's that Broadway in Nashville. I would probably say the same exact thing. So that's okay, super exciting. So you have that going on. You're working on a lot of collabs, different genre music, or kind of staying in the wonky experimental vibe.
Yes, I think pretty much like I'm for the most part to stay in my lane, kind of
Okay,
wonky experimental vibe.
cool.
Sometimes more trappy, sometimes less trappy, but you know, I'm really excited. Especially, actually, I should let me talk about my collabs. I got some collabs coming out with my homie Shmani. She's based out in Vancouver too. She's super talented. It's like I love her live shows because she does like she'll like DJ, but she also does vocals, which is
Mhm.
super fun. We love that. But like yeah, I got like I think uh like early June we got a cover of Lindsay Lohan's Rumors coming out,
Oh, yo, that
which
sounds crazy.
yeah, that was funny because we were actually hanging out with Gardella, and then I don't know, it just came up, and then I was like, man, that'd be a really cool song to remix. And then she's like, that would be a cool song to remix. And I was like, do you want to do it together? And then we remixed it, and then we're like, oh, we'll add some vocals, make it a cover. So we got that coming. But also,
Yeah.
me and her have a collab coming out on Alice in Wonderland's label in early July. So yeah, and I think I got another one with her, but like that one's not done yet. But yeah, she's like really easy to work with, but also I think once again, on a personal level, we get like along so well. Like when I first met her, like I was like, oh, this is a cool person. And then we met a few more times. And then one day I was like, hey, do you want to go thrift shopping? You seem like somebody who would thrift shop. Let's go thrift shopping. And she's like, I love thrift shopping. And literally, the first time we hung out, not at a show, was us thrift shopping. And like, that's when actually want to be friends with someone. I'm like, we're doing a non-music, non-club thing.
Yes.
Whatever it is, we are doing that thing. And so since then, we've just kind of had a friendship and like made a bunch of music and like it's once again, help each other in different ways. Like she's really good at social media. I am getting better, but
I
she's really
feel
good.
that.
So
I
she's
feel
helping
that.
with that. But like, in different ways we can help each other up and like, yeah.
That's so exciting. Hell yeah. I'm very excited to hear the cover. I feel like a lot of people are doing that lately where they're kind of like they're singing like it was a cover, but then it goes into like a totally
Yeah.
different like EDM-esque drop. And I feel like that song by Lindsay Lohan is gonna be an entertaining one.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
far, like I've played it at a few shows and like it goes off. I get the what is the song messages, which is always a good sign.
Oh, yay. Okay,
Yeah.
that's honestly such a good test when you're testing, like, unreleased music, is to, like, put it to an edit or, like, just throw it in there as, like, a drop, and then if you get messages about it, especially when you have, a 60 to 75-minute set, you know that that's gonna be a winner, and then I just had a homie, Backlash release on
Oh, Devin.
Allison's. Yes, Devin is the shit. Devin is a gem, but he released on, Allison's label as well,
Yes, yes.
and he is awesome and had just like such lovely things to say. And then the same with Avello, who also did a
Yeah.
remix on that remix pack. Avello did the show with her here at Red Rocks and then had one of his songs come out on her label. And I'm excited because she announced her label like quite a while back, but then it had like the makeup line with it, and she had a bunch of stuff going, like she was getting married and then had a baby and
Yeah.
all of this shit. And I'm excited that it seems like a lot of my friends and like people I know are starting to release on the label, and I don't feel like the sound that she's releasing right now on the label is being like really done anywhere else. So I'm very fucking pumped to see what artists she like kind of brings along to revive the like OG trap, like not the new like Knock 2 ISO trap or like Sable Valley. Like she's always kind of been on her like own wave. I know she just did at EDC Vegas, she just did her Mix Mag set, like a
Yeah.
replay from like that was from like I think 2010 or 2011 or something.
somewhere then, yeah.
Legendary set, like that literally changed her career, and she like replayed the whole thing, and I was just like, I miss this music. Like I miss this trap, like the OG run trap.
Yeah, I feel like there's a few people who are kind of like on that wave, and I think we're seeing like this like re-emergence of it again, and which is good to see because like I mean that's what got me off house music, to be honest.
Okay,
So like that's what got me off house because I was very like house music, and then like that's what really
Yep.
got me out of it. But speaking of backlash, actually, it was I don't know, like so that same weekend that I played that Mersiv Red Rocks after party, the next day me Backlash, ACN, and 1788L went back to back at
Temple. That's my
Temple, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was so exciting. Okay, I actually remember seeing videos of that because that was Sippy's after party.
That was Sippy's after party, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Honestly, one of the most fun shows I have ever played. Like
Temple's sick. Temple's a spaceship. It's very cool.
It was really funny because we're all like, we'll see how this back to back goes. No idea where this is going, because it was like true. No one knows what anyone else is playing, kind of back to back.
Way different. Are you kidding me? You got David 1788 up there with like you and Backlash and ACN, and that's a potential disaster. But it seemed like it went great.
It was honestly like so good. It was really, really, really surprising. There was one point where I think I thought ACN was gonna mix, and then ACN thought I was gonna mix, and the song just keeps on going, and I'm like, oh man, the song's about to end, and I'm like, need to find new song, and it was just like, but besides that, I think it was like seamless. I think if anyone closed their eyes, they probably would have thought it was just a single DJ. Like our music, we made it work. We would just like keep the tempo at between 130 and 140. That was the only rule for it.
That was it. I mean, that's perfect. And I feel like that's your like DJ skill set, and being able to like crate dig and say, okay, we are all so different and we make really different music. However, there is like sonic overlap and blending that can exist here, which is so true for like all of your different sounds, even though they're so vastly different. I know David has stuff there. I know you have stuff there. And that would be, I remember seeing like so many videos after it, because you guys played right before or right after Laura Sippy?
Oh, we played right before.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's and then that was the Red Rocks after party for Disco Lines. Yeah, that was a crazy building too. She like opened for Disco Lines that day after Mersiv. Sweet. That's so exciting. I feel like that's like the most Denver thing ever, is when shit like that happens, is everybody's just kind of like, all right, well, let's just go and make it happen. And it's always cool because we have so many venues, and I feel like all of the artists here, I've gotten to know them more and more. People are really just involved in the community here. And another thing that I've been kind of talking about to like newer artists, where I like put myself back in the shoes of trying to figure out how to get to the other side. And so much of it is just being involved in the community and like showing up at the events that you want to get booked at, and like being a part of, like seeing who else is there, and then seeing what other opportunities come from that and who you can get lunch with. Because there's so many more people that I think are in like your same mindset and position that you realize until you go out and look around, and there's like other artist homies who are like, I would love to do that. How do we make it happen? And then you guys just start to like build together.
Yeah, like community is without a doubt like a super important thing, and like I mean, in the past I used to have like a little record label, and I used to throw shows here in Vancouver, And also my other friends, they had this thing called Beginnings, which was like, if you've never DJ'd in a club, this is for you kind of thing. And they would do that in like the side room of this club. And then my other friends used to do this uh they were like, it was like this collective called Chapel Sound. It was like Tails, and I think Joel's was kind of part of it. And
Okay.
basically what they used to do was like, everyone brings like their songs on a USB, and you play it in a club, and it's just like produces, and we all say like what we thought about the song, and that was a cool thing. And even I did a few of those. I called it Beak Critique, and I would get like different guests. But like as my stuff has kind of got going, it's like harder to do stuff because it's like I'm very often not here. So it's like
100%.
harder to like do that stuff. But I have, but there's always like people doing that, and it's like the most important thing to keep things going. Because especially like my other friend, she's starting an open decks thing, same thing. You've never DJed before, come through. Everyone gets like a little 20-minute set. We've got the space for like 5 hours. So
Yeah.
it's like, yes. And even like some venues in the city are like willing to like give out, if you're doing things like that, their venues will be willing to give you like a slower day, like a Sunday for free, which is my friend did. Was like,
Yes.
You guys don't do anything on a Sunday. Can I have the space for free on a Sunday? They'll make a little bit on like, I think it's like a $5 entry, so nothing crazy, and then like they make a little bit on bar sales. So it's like not too bad for them. But
100%.
yeah,
And then it's
so it's
like
like,
always getting people through the door. It's like if you're going to get people through the door when we're slow, of course we would love to have you.
hmm yeah, so I think that's definitely an important thing. And just I try to make the effort of, if somebody's in my city, I try very hard to see them. That's like my thing. It's like, if you are in my city and I know you, I will make the effort to come and see you, because I think that's important, and it just reestablishes the bond and makes people feel closer, even if it's like I only see you once a year.
100%. Yeah. And community is such an important driver, like on the backside of the industry, like alongside the people that we work, for with people who work for us, like do, artwork, graphic designers, VJs, animators, whatever. Like it takes so much to make the wheel turn. And then on like the front side of the community too, when it comes to your fans, like community is like key. Like how do you build a fan base, especially in this day and age where you have an accumulation of like super fans who will buy the t-shirts and buy the tickets and like really watch out for your other fans that are doing the same, and all of that comes through community. I feel like if you look at the largest artists that have really been able to like stand the test of time, even people like Grizz that have been able to go on a hiatus and come back, it's all because of the community that was built under the project's name, which is so much more than who Grizz is. Like the community is bigger than who Grizz is. And I feel like that's like the goal within all of our projects, is to create something like bigger than us. And it's all community driven, all about like how can we give back and all of that stuff. Before you go, I want to ask you and talk about the Junos. I want you to
Oh yeah.
tell anybody who's listening who don't know what the Junos are, what they are, and what your involvement was in this year, because that is such an incredibly exciting milestone.
Oh yeah, the Junos. Okay, so the Junos are essentially Canadian Grammy Awards. That's what they are. So this year I got nominated for Dance Recording of the Year, which is actually the second time I have been nominated, because I got nominated in 2001 as well. And funny enough, both years that I got nominated, Rez was in the category. So this year, an artist who I'm kind of unfamiliar with, a Sad Boy won, and then in 2001, K Tornado won. So it's always like super tough competition, but I'm just like, I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. I would say the same thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a good group of people to be paired with. Thanks.
And it's a really cool event, because it's like they are the awards, but the whole week there's just like stuff happening, and you can meet a bunch of people in the music industry in different levels and different genres, and there's so many performances around the city. And like, I mean, I was really stoked that I got to see Sum 41's last ever performance. like
Whoa.
like I'd never seen Sum 41 before, and that's kind of sad because I used to be such a huge fan. But I was like, hey, if you're gonna catch them for their last performance ever. And I was like, this is really cool that like I happen to be at this, through the Juno, activities.
That's so exciting. That's so exciting. Yeah, because I feel like there's all those like other like events, literally what you said, where you get to meet all of these other industry people and like go to the award show and it's like this very small thing, but it's just like if you were nominated for a Grammy or like nominated for something of like high substance that really is a lot bigger than just dance music itself. It's like a whole celebration of just like the music industry in general. It's super, super cool. And it was just a single record with you, right? Like it was
Yeah,
just like,
yeah, there's no collabs, no nothing. I made the artwork, I mixed and mastered the songs, I did every single thing about those songs. Yeah, there was just me, and it was a self-release as well. Wasn't on a big label. Yeah.
I think that's such a power to them. I mean, like, also, I know I get into this and then I try and keep them 60 minutes and then it never fucking works. With independent releasing, which you've done a ton of, and now like you are releasing on a lot of labels as well. What are some things that you can say to maybe that person who's waiting just for the label to like sign their track? Because I feel like now more than ever, you just got to go for it.
No, don't do that. Don't wait for a specific label to sign a track. What's more valuable than being on a specific label is actually consistency. Consistency is probably like the number one thing. Honestly, if you are like trying to make it, it it sounds hectic, but like kind of putting out a song a month is kind of the move. Like if you
Yeah.
especially with how algorithms like Spotify's algorithm works, if you put out a song every 30 days, like you will see growth. Like that's kind of the level you got to be hitting, and you got to do that for like a year or two kind of vibe. That's kind of the move. And like different things can work for different people, but that's kind of the most likely for you to succeed kind of route. And like even with label releases, like you can get releases on big labels that don't do much. And like like some of like my label releases, it's like smaller label but does like super well, and it's like what people like comment to me for. But like sometimes it's bigger label but it doesn't do as well, so it's like I wouldn't say that that is something you should count on. And it's really like you also want people to be fans of like you more so than the label. At least that's how I think of it. I want
100%.
you want to use like the label, like the fans they have, to become fans of you. But like sometimes I feel like you know it's like some labels I think have like really intense fandoms that are just more about the label than the artist can be. And if you are like especially a smaller artist, I think that can become more apparent. Or
Absolutely. I think there's like beneficial points to each side, but I think no one's ever going to care about your music more than you. So it's
Mhm.
like if you're able to do the creative direction and do the visual presentation and really give it your all, that paired with the consistency of you doing over and over again, usually will lead to labels asking for music
Mhm.
and caring about it more than you chasing them and saying, I'm going to wait another month to hear back. I'm going to wait another month to hear back. Because usually, if labels are interested, they will straight up be like, let's fucking do it. Or like, do you have a single? We want to
Yeah.
release your sound kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, at this point, honestly, I would say I get asked by labels more than I submit to labels at this point.
Which
Like
is the goal.
most of my label releases are labels asking me. That's kind of like where I'm at this point, which is kind of cool.
Mhm.
It took a long time to get here,
It takes a lot
but
of time.
yeah, but like it's really cool that like there's like a noticing of me, and even outside of that, it even goes to like even like me getting booked for shows because even like some of the songs that like people are like, oh, we really like this song, blah blah blah. This person's playing a show. Do you want to like maybe be support for this show or whatever? And it's like a song that I self-released, so it can help in that way as well.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, I mean, you said it best yourself. It's just in the consistency. It's in
Since
don't,
it's
don't,
getting named again.
don't make every video you put on social media with the intention of it going viral. Don't hold on to a song because you're waiting on X label or you don't feel like it's perfect. Like the consistency is going to help you more than anything. And you're going to look back a year and a half or 2 years and be like, holy shit, okay, that was a lot. But like we did it, and not everything was a massive success, but it all played like the perfect little stone into my like box being full for me to get now this really, really large opportunity, which I feel like is happening in real time in your career currently.
Yeah, that is pretty much like, and it's like just every once in a while something really cool pops up. I get a cool email, or like my manager's like, "Hey, so," so that just keeps on happening. Like in the last, I would say, especially like probably since last year, because last year it all started with me going on tour with Wreckno, because Wreckno was like, "Do you want to go on tour with me?" And I was like, "What?" And then ever since then, it's just like things keep on happening and happening and happening. But like, it's like I'm trying to release a lot of music. I'm trying to play as many shows as I can. I'm trying to like make sure that I give my friendships with other musicians time, and like all this is leading to more and more and more and more things just happening. It's definitely like a rolling stone that's gathering. Wait, now I was about to say that wrong, because a rolling stone doesn't gather moss. Does it gather moss? It doesn't gather
I
moss.
don't know. I don't know. It sounded good. I wasn't gonna question you. I was like, wow, that was said really lovely. I was like, that's fine.
I was like, whatever,
So
but I just
cool.
need like, it's like a momentum thing,
Yes,
So
yes. And it's yeah, it's definitely like gaining speed. And I feel like you definitely have like set your blocks for longevity, which is like you've already been in this for a long time, but like now you're like kind of like seeing the all of your hard work start to pay off on the back end, and it's only gonna like keep getting bigger. So
yeah.
well, yeah, super exciting. Is there anything else you wanna leave with the listeners today before I let you go?
Um.
There was like one
Oh,
thing.
I guess. Oh, I guess. Okay. I guess. I guess. I think. Okay. As much as I am a musician, I'm a person who feels and feels a lot and cares deeply, and I would just encourage everyone to make time and make effort with people that they care about. That is, I think, the most, yeah, that's the most important thing, like, ever,
It
I
is the
think.
most important thing ever. I think if people did that more, we'd probably live on a better planet.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that. It's very easy because a lot of people who listen to this are like fans of the artists like you that I'm having on, but also want to be like in this industry or working in this industry or are and are trying to like level up, whatever. And I think it's like really important to realize that what we do is like incredible, and we're very privileged to be able to be given the opportunity to do it, but it's not like everything. Like having the people around you like that aren't directly involved in your income or your business or your touring or your X, Y, and Z are also equally, maybe even more important,
Mhm.
because they deal with us and they're there for us on a daily basis. And it's like super important to acknowledge the things that, your friends and your significant other or your family are like passionate about and like to do too, and take time to do that. Because I think that when we went into COVID, you saw a lot of people who didn't have like anything else but this industry go through a really hard time because they didn't have anything else but this industry. And as many amazing people I've met in this industry that are incredible and have become lifelong friends, they're also like really not great people. And I think it's really important to like have that base structure of people that you really appreciate that have nothing to do with what you do in this space and lane.
Like,
So
exactly. Like, my partner is not the biggest fan of my music. Some songs she likes, but most of it she's like, I don't really like it. And you know what? That's literally my favorite person in the world, And some of my best friends, we make music, but we don't like each other's music. But it's like that's not what it's about. But it's like, that person adds like a huge amount of value to my life, and I will always make time for them, and I will root for them in their lane, and they'll root for me in my lane.
what it's
And
all about. That's what it's all freaking about. Well, so says Tana. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited to put this out, and I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun to just chat. It was like really nice and mellow. I feel like this is our first like actual conversation we've ever had, but it felt
Yes.
like talking to a friend, and I appreciated that.
That's the goal. It's easy. It's easy with people though who I've like talked to before and people who I'm like, I know we're gonna get along and it's gonna be like an easy vibe. And yeah, and I appreciate you coming on and just having like a safe, transparent conversation with me about like what's going on in your world right now. That's what it's kind of all about for people to listen and learn from and get to know you a little bit better. And I think people are really gonna enjoy listening to it.